finna get your ass the game, man. You know I break it down. Come on, man, you know it's Bain.
Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to Bain Break It Down Forex. It's your boy Big Bain in this thing, and you guys guessed it. Another week, another opportunity for us to make some money in the Forex market. So let's get right to it. All right. Over on the dollar, guys, we got a nice change of character after we made this new low. Starting to get uptrend structure in which I believe we can bounce from this demand area and continue rising, right? But it is very tricky because we have not really got above the supply level just yet with the candle that is closed. All right, that will be a stronger change of character, right, versus the change of character that we have, near the bottom of price action. All right, so for now, there's still possibility that the dollar can drop and sweep this trend line liquidity. All right, tapping a little deeper into demand before rising. But ultimately, I do see the dollar providing us with a rise up, which is just the pullback, right, to the overall downtrend that it's in. All right, again, this is pullback, this is the run. Now, again, the pullback. So not necessarily a trend reversal, but just a, uptrend that is pullback of a downtrend. All right. I know that might be confusing to some, but if you get it, you get it. All right. But over to that's what I have for the dollar. I believe it's going to rise this week. No news on Monday. I believe we have FOMC on Wednesday, so that might get the market moving. But the market has been kind of slow, especially this past week. Not a lot of volatility. Leading into the holidays. So we may pick up this week, but time will tell. All right, but bullish on the dollar. Over to our dollar, and I'm bearish. All right, I believe that we will, get a bit of a push up, a little bit more before we get the drop. And we do have to get past this demand level for it to be, more confirmed that price will fall. But as it stands right now, this is kind of giving us a bit of a rising channel or a rising wedge, which typically is a bearish reversal indication. But for now, it's still a little consolidated and it's staying above this demand area that we see here on our dollar. So we may very well rise up, all right, on our dollar. So be careful with that. Look for price to break below demand with the body of a candle, and then at that point that should give you confirmation that it will continue dropping, but you need to still wait for the pullback, sell it from the high. All right, but overall I am bearish on our dollar. All right, moving over to euro dollar, and my team sold this last week around early morning Friday. So again, just a short position where I expect price to push up a little bit more and then give us a drop. All right, I'm bearish on euro USD. Pound dollar, same exact thing, bearish, right? We got a nice drop. We broke structure here. We made the new low, right? We're starting to pull back. I expect us to tap into supply, right, at this area and then give us the next drop. I'm bearish on pound dollar. Over to New Zealand dollar, same exact thing. We have liquidity behind this downtrend line. I expect us to push up, tap into supply, activate our sell limit order, and then I expect New Zealand dollar to drop. All right, bearish on New Zealand dollar. All right, dollar CAD, we have a nice falling wedge right into a major demand. We did get a change of character on the lower time frame, so let me go take a look at that. All right, and whoop, there it is. Right, price breaking above a lower high that did break a low at one point on the lower time frame. So now that with that change, that is signifying that we could now start to rise on dollar CAD, and with it being backed by this massive falling wedge right in this demand area, making it a confluence, is giving us a higher probability that this trade will play out. So I expect price to push down back into this area of demand that was, before the impulsive move that gave us the change of character. I expect price to come down here first, and then from there rise all the way up to this next level of supply for over 240 pips. All right, I'm bullish on dollar CAD. All right, dollar CHF. So again, just like the dollar, it looks like, it's begin its pullback phase. So did dollar CHF. Again, my team has bought it, right? So it may slightly drop a little bit back into this demand area to sweep this liquidity that you guys see right here, right? But after that, I do expect dollar CHF to rise up, potentially going to sweep this liquidity that sits behind the supply area, giving us over 282 pips on that play. All right, bullish on dollar CHF. All right, dollar JPY. So I was bullish on it, but I expected it to sweep liquidity before it went bullish. But we did have some news last week that caused it to just completely push up without giving us the sweep. So because that did not happen, I'm still expecting that to happen this week. All right, so initially I believe dollar JPY will push down a bit, right? Sweeping liquidity, tapping into this demand area before we get a rise on dollar JPY. So be careful buying it right now, even though it could still rise, right? To see if you can get it to dip a little bit before you go to buy it. And that'll be your best bet on dollar JPY. All right. So initially bearish, right? Looking out for the sweep that wasn't completed last week. All right. And then from there, I'll be looking to have my buying opportunity on dollar JPY. Pound odd. All right, guys. When we look at this from a higher time frame, shout out to Ariel. All right. She called this play out for the team. Right. And we got almost near TP on Wednesday. All right. So from where we entered to the low, that was over 289 pips. And since we entered from over here, all right, we got that in 2 days, right? 268 pips on pound odd in 2 days, from my girl Ariel in the squad. All right. So since then, we got an pound odd to pull back right to this area that it broke, right? And it's rejecting it. So we could see the drop continue to go down and hit our take profit, but we may also see price rise up to the supply area, right? Tapping into it before we get that drop. So it's going to be very tricky to, see what happens. But overall, I am bearish on pound odd. All right, over to pound CAD, same kind of situation, right? We started to break structure to the downside. We're currently consolidating. We may rise up, right, to go and sweep this liquidity, possibly tap into the imbalance that we have up here before dropping. But again, you have to wait for that to develop. So I believe it will rise initially, right, possibly tap into supply before giving us our drop. So as much as I want to be bearish, I have to watch out for the bullish movement first, and then I'll be looking to sell pound CAD. All right, bearish on pound CAD. Over to pound CHF. This play has been setting up for quite some time. All right, guys, and we're finally here. All right, so we broke the low, made the new low, pulled back into the fair value gap, started pushing down, which is what price was supposed to do. It's just supposed to fall after it made this pullback move. Supposed to fall, but what we see is that it's nowhere near breaking that previous swing low. All right, we're in this demand area, and we're starting to see the bulls show up from this demand area. There's plenty of liquidity here, and there's still more imbalance sitting below the supply area. So I do expect pound CHF to rise, giving us over 600 points to the upside. All right, bullish on pound CHF. Over to pound JPY. Guys, major trend line here on pound JPY. This looks like a massive rising channel, all right, from this higher time frame. But if we go down to the lower time frame to get the details of structure, what we're going to see is that price did break this high over here, all right, which started to make the new high, started to pull back, got right to the demand area, right, before it reversed and tapped into this fair value gap. Now it's starting to fall. Because of this change, right, from going down to up, there's potential for GJ to rise. But as it stands right now, it still looks like it will fall a bit more before potentially rising. So you got to be very careful with GJ. As ultimately, I do believe that GJ will rise, but for now, we may still be getting some movement down before we get that push up. So for now, bearish on GJ, but looking to potentially get into a buy, depending on how low it goes. All right, bearish on GJ. Over to pound New Zealand. Okay, and pound New Zealand, a little mix. I can't really make it out. It made the high, started pulling back to one of our points of interest, the fair value gap, and it started to rise up. So it should continue rising, all right, which I believe is possible, but it also is at an indecision level, if you will, to where it could also push down some more, fill this imbalance right above this demand area. So I'm not really sure what I want to do with pound New Zealand just yet. I'm going to sit on it until things become a little bit more clear, and then I'll be looking to take whatever the chart is showing me at that time. All right, but indecisive on pound New Zealand. Over to oil. All right, so OPEC has had a digital Zoom meeting, if you will, on Saturday today, and they decided that they are going to increase their oil production. All right, so Russia, Saudi Arabia, right, all of these major exporters, right, are now going to increase their oil production. Typically, that would cause oil prices to go down because there's a lot of supply in the market, right? Basic supply and demand, rules. But I believe because we're at, times of uncertainty with, economic turmoil, right? With the wars and what have you, I believe oil is in high demand. All right. So the increased production that these countries are going to have with oil, instead of it causing price to fall, it's almost like they're just increasing it for the demand that I believe is out there for oil. All right, so that will stabilize the price and probably cause it to rise. All right, from a chart perspective, we are definitely looking at a potential rise on oil, right, to fill the imbalance from when oil prices did fall. Right, you had indecision, then we broke out, right, showing us massive bullish pressure. All right, we're pulling back to that same demand area, and from there I do believe that we'll take off on oil. So even though more production, which will give us more oil supply, right, I think there's enough demand in the market to meet that supply, and possibly even more to cause prices of oil to go up. All right, so I'm bullish on oil, but I'm watching out for the pull down or the push down to this demand area, possibly below the consolidation, and even possibly into this demand area before oil rises. All right, but just be careful, have a tight stop on each potential entry that you believe oil is going to rise from, and you should be okay. All right, but bullish on oil. All right, silver, I'm still waiting for that to drop. All right, I kind of have a feeling that it wants to go and take out this high and then drop, but at the same token, I can see it dropping right out the gate, as we have had a collectively slow push up, taking out this high for liquidity, and now we could easily use that to fuel our move down on silver. All right, so I'm bearish on silver. All right, gold. Okay, I do believe because we broke the low and now we've pulled back, we've engineered some liquidity right within this fair value gap that we can go sweep, tap into supply, and then we'll fall on gold. All right, so I'm bearish on gold from the 33.75 price point, right, having a tight stop above supply and aiming for $132 move, which is 1,320 pips on gold. All right, don't miss out. Nice setup. All right, bearish on gold. Natural gas looks very bullish. All right, kind of similar to oil, right? We did get our lows and then we changed character, breaking this high, right? Making a new high, now pulling back, and potentially this will be a higher low that will cause price to push up to make higher highs and fill all the imbalance that was created by this downward move. So natural gas looks really, really good for a buying opportunity. I'm bullish on natural gas. Okay, buy. All right. They've been acting, super funky in terms of, giving it look like it wants to drop, but then continuing to rise. Right. So overall, we are still bullish on SPY. We're heading towards a demand level right now that we can respect and rise up from. There's also another demand level too, or on the lower time frame that we could also, just kind of bounce from as well. So, maybe temporary bearish, but overall it's looking, to still be bullish at this time on SPY. So I'll be looking for that opportunity, but also keeping, close eye or a change of character to where maybe SPY will fall. But for now, SPY is still bullish. All right, over to NAS. And with NAS, we had a breakout of consolidation, sweeping the buy side liquidity, making a new high. All right, we since started to pull back, but again, we can pull to this demand area and then rise. We could also drop a little bit more, fill this imbalance, pull to this demand area and then rise from there. If so, right, then that means temporarily we will be bearish on NAS, right? But it can very quickly go back and turn to being bullish. So be very mindful of that, right? Price is still in a uptrend on NAS. All right, so temporary bearish, right, for any one of these, for reaching one of these demand levels. But then from those demand levels, look for your buying opportunity, right? Buying low is the best, but it may not get to this area. It may just respect this demand and rise up. So you have to play it by sight and see how it goes. All right, but temporary bearish, overall bullish on NAS. Time will tell. Last but not least, US 30. We have a nice rising wedge, right? And we're starting to, kind of break out of the wedge, but we're also respecting that support line for now. So price could rise up, get to the resistance line, and then fall from there, completing the reversal pattern that this rising wedge represents, right? And then we'll start falling on US 30. But until we get that, right, where we break out of the wedge, price is still bullish on US 30. So be very, very careful. Again, we just broke this high. So the demand area sits somewhere within here where we most likely will push down and then push up, right? Possibly, this could be engineered liquidity to kind of attract price down to this demand area and then rise. All right, so all the indices for the most part, except for SPY, so NAS and US 30 seem like they will give us some sort of drop, right, before it potentially gives us another rise. But we just got to really be careful because we can get a rise right now without a drop. So that's also on the table. All right, but overall, this definitely kind of gives bearish vibes on the way. It's just not ready just yet. All right, so take advantage of what you can, guys. And again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, got plenty of more content for anything that you guys need to know in terms of understanding Forex, right? Not just trading it, but really know your ins and outs so that you can get what you want to get. All right, but in the meantime, in between time, y'all know what it is. It's your boy. Peace.
Wanna get money? Wanna get paid? That's Forex. Like a sensei, then you know you gotta come and swing my way. And if you wanna fast forward, hit replay.